Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ray with the Genesis Wildlife Group. I am here in Central Florida. It's the 13th of January, and believe it or not, we are already planting corn. I am here unveiling the brand new food plot drill by the Legendare Outdoors. Playing with drills for 25 years of my life as a farmer, farming for wildlife, sitting on a drill. There are so many features that I always wanted to see or always hoped to see in a drill. This manufacturing company that I'm dealing with now, with well over 20 years in the agricultural market, building drills. This is all these folks do, is build drills. I mean, I came to the table with probably half a dozen items that I wanted to see in a drill, 3 of which I thought would be impossible. These guys, within literally 7-8 weeks, had it on a CAD printout ready to go. Blew my mind. And here we are, probably a year and a half later, with prototype number 3. And I am so ecstatic to be able to show you what things they were able to put on this drill to make my life, and more importantly, your life, way more easier. So let's start off with number 1. I don't know any food plot drill. Now, you gotta remember, when I'm talking about drills, I'm talking about my lane, which is farming for wildlife. This specific drill has been built on what I have, my experiences and the experiences of the drill manufacturer combined to make this thing the Mercedes-Benz of drills. So, quick attach. The first thing that we wanted to see on this thing, we wanted a quick attach. So the engineers put this thing together, making it available for guys that have a quick attach. One guy can back up and hook this thing up single point. It's just on an incredibly easy unit now to be able to hook up to your tractor. So one guy can do this. Secondly, I go from farm to farm to farm, and I run out of room. If I want to take a brush hog with me, or I want to take a sprayer or a UTV or whatever, I have to put this unit on a tractor, and if I don't have the room, it's very difficult to load other products. So what we did is we incorporated fork pockets. It's forkable. I can take my 75 horse tractor, lift this thing up, set it right on the back of a pickup truck with great ease because of those fork pockets. Again, we're making this drill, or we have made this drill, as user-friendly as possible. All right, now we're gonna get into some really heavy-duty, nitty-gritty things that you will not find on any other drill, and that is lockups. You know, as a food plotter, as a land manager, as a landowner, everybody wants to plant corn, okay? And corn needs to be 1.5 to 2 inches deep. It needs to establish a root system before it can actually pop out of the ground and do well. Now, can you do it with a conventional no-till drill? You can, but you're going to have problems. You're not going to get the germination rate that you need to get, that you will when you have something like this. Or if you were to take a set of discs or a set of plows and condition that soil. But the whole idea of having a no-till drill is to not have to go out there and precondition the soil. Now, we're here in Florida on sand. This is gonna be an easy play. But we're here, upstate New York, Pennsylvania, on hill ground, rocky ground. You set this unit on uneven ground, okay, and you try to get 12 coulters in the soil all at one time, 2 inches deep. It is not going to happen. Your germination rate is not going to be there. So when I came to the table and I said, look guys, if there was a way, and this is one of those impossible things that I thought, how can we lift and get some of these coulters off the ground so that if I wanted to plant corn with this thing all the way to clover, I would be able to do it. Notice these packing wheels, you got some that are lifted. Every other one is lifted off the ground, and obviously the others are on the ground. These are 6 inches on center. I'm gonna be planting corn on 1 foot centers as a 6-row corn planter. If we wanna make this a 3-row corn planter, 2-row corn planter, 4-row corn planter, we can make it whatever we want. But what we're doing is we're taking the weight of this machine and we're setting it on 4 or 2 or 3, or in this case, 6 coulters, allowing the full weight of this unit to sit down on the designated coulters that we want. That is how we get our depth, because we're able to set that amount of weight and it's not dispersed across 12 different coulters. So let me show you how these work. This right here, this one's lifted up. One little spring action, back up. That simple. Folks, it does not get any easier than this. Now let me show you something as well. Let me show you inside this seed box. So inside this seed box, I want you to notice something. We have every other meter or every other coulter locked up. So we're going to be planting corn every other row, 1 foot on center here today. But look inside. I wanted to show you this. There's a seed closer in here. And you say, well, if we're locked up, seed's not going to go down there. It's not going to plant anyway. But we don't want our seed going into the meters. So this is a feature. Now, there are other drill manufacturers on the market, very old drill manufacturers on the market, that have actually steel plates that just drop in. I've taken some and I've put cardboard and taped it in. Just anything so that the seed doesn't go into my meter so that I can block off. Well, number one, we've got our lockups. We can lock our rows up. But more importantly here, take a look at this. Underneath here, we've got our seed closers. Open up or close them down. So we can close any meter off that we want. These are just those little tiny things. As a guy that sits on a drill forever, I just love to see this kind of stuff in place just to make my life easier. Also want you to see something else. If you're sitting on a drill, how do you know when you're out of seed? You got to get up. Now, some of these drill manufacturers make these little tiny windows. If you're sitting on that tractor and you look in here, you've got see-through all the way. Look at the size of these sight windows. Here, so you can see right down to the bottom of your box. And then on the backside, so as you're sitting on your tractor, you'll be able to see right straight through and see the level of your seed. Folks, this is huge. This is just convenience. As a guy that sits on a drill, this is just those little tiny things, the bells and whistles that we always dreamed about having as a farmer. One of the big things, if you're a planter, you understand this, and that is, the more seed that we have in the ground, the less weed we're going to have. So what we've done on this row spacing is we've tightened it up to 6 inches. So we're 6 inches on center. Every other row would be at 12 inches. You say, well, what's an inch? A huge amount. An inch is another weed. Most 5-foot drills will have 8 or 9 coulters. This one's got 12 on a 6-foot unit. How do we change the depth? Here is another giant move on the part of this manufacturer. Let me show you how simple this is. Just simple cranks, and you are raising or lowering both coulters and your packing wheels, okay? Simple, folks, simple. No more need to get down on your hands and knees and change things out. Another feature to this single point adjustment is, as we turn this, we have our depth adjustment. You look right here, we want to be at 1 inch for grains. Right there's 1 inch. We want to be at 2 inches or 1.5 inches for soybeans. Here we are now, 1.5 inches for soybeans. We want to go a little deeper. Now, what's critical, here, see this too? This can be adjusted. If I was to set this for 1 inch here in Georgia or Florida, and then I go north, it will never do it because of the hard pan, the clay. So this as well on the front side, single point bolt can be adjusted for your location or your geographical location. Here's another thing, as a brother food plotter, you could probably relate that if you're sitting on a tractor and you're pulling your hair out because you're maybe drilling in clay or drilling in dry ground, how many times have you gotten off and you walk back and you say, oh my goodness, look at the seed on top of the soil. Now I'm gonna tell you something, it can happen with any drill. I don't care how good the drill is, but how can we bulletproof ourselves as best as we can from that happening? I'll tell you what they did. They literally put pressure on their packing wheels. You know what I'm talking about. If you're on uneven ground and you go through a dip, okay, your drive wheel is still driving, seed is still dropping, but because you went through the dip and came back out of it, your coulters came off the ground, guess what? You have no slice in the ground. However, seed still dropped on the ground because these are pressurized. They're still riding on the ground with pressure, and at bare minimum, you get pressure on that seed, which is seed to soil contact, which we all know is absolutely paramount in the drill world. Take a look at that. See that? Look at the travel on that. So if your coulters have come off the ground, there is still 3-4 inches of travel pressure on those packing wheels, kind of bulletproofing that seed is going to get pushed and touching that soil as tight as it possibly can. All right, so here's another feature. I want to show you this drive wheel. This drive wheel is not anything new. Most drills have gone away from the pneumatic because the pneumatic tires lose air pressure, which compromises your metering system. The other thing too is those pneumatics tend to slip in tall grass. I've had them slip. So when we put this thing on here, we went with a solid steel plate for our drive wheel. And what's the importance of solid steel? You don't get the corn cobs, you don't get the bean chaff, you don't get that other tall grass bound up inside. And folks, I want you to understand, when this drill was designed, we had this drill designed in mind so that we could 110% plant anything from corn to clover. This thing will do everything that you want as a food plotter to increase mass, tonnage, nutrients. This drill will do it. Whereas other drills that I have used in the past, you just couldn't get there unless you conditioned the soil first. No conditioning needed. This drill has the weight, it has the features, it has all the bells and whistles to get you what you need to be successful in your food plot. All right, here's some other really, really cool features to this. I don't want you to be scared of this drill. This drill looks kind of busy. It is the simplest drill and the most efficient drill that you will ever put your hands on. Let me show you really quickly this side. So this simply here is a calibration lever. This calibration lever allows the metering system, the ports, to be shifted to the back. So if you wanted to calibrate, you want to dial things in, you have a specific blend of seed that you really don't know what how many pounds to the acre you're going to need, that's the lever you're going to use. It shifts all the seed to dump out here. So this is your clean out box. Okay, once you got the seed in there, okay, you can dump it back into your hopper. Bump it right back in, okay? So calibrations are on some seed are very, very important if you don't know those. Most of these we'll have those calibrations already done for you. Here on this side, I want to just show you, when you're not using it, you just flip it over. So let me flip it back over so no water gets in there and you're ready to roll. All right, here, let me show you this. Now this is the other lever. This is one of the most important levers. Not that the other one isn't, but this is what we call our gate. Our gate setting is typically depicted by the size of seed. So if you're going to be running a clover or an alfalfa or a switchgrass, is something that's very, very small, you're going to be right down on one or before one. If you're going to be running sunflowers or let's say soybeans or corn, you're going to be up into that 2, maybe 3, 2.5, sometimes 3. This is not a volume lever. This is only depicted by the size of the seed. And we'll have charts. We have charts for that for you. So this is going to tell us, we're going to set this very simply based on the size of our seed. Now let's walk around over here. This is the goodies. This is where where the magic happens. This is a proprietary clutch system designed by this manufacturer specifically for these units. This system here is an infinitely variable clutch system. What does that mean? That means I am not held to 4 pounds of clover, or I'm not held to 6 pounds of clover. If I want 4.5, 4 1/8, 4 1/4 pounds of clover on a half acre, I can dial this thing again. Simple, very, very simple. Adjust as easy as it gets. Another quick feature that we added to this clutch system is a little lubrication sight window. All right, one other thing when we're talking about this infinite variable clutch system, I can't tell you how many times I was turned off years and years ago when I wanted to go from whether it was switchgrass or clover or soybeans, and I wanted to change my metering system out. To do that, I had to take this cover off, change a sprocket, put the chain on the new one. It was just a pain. And I know that a lot of you out there have this type of system where you have to do that. It's all built in, from high speed to low speed. It's all done in this infinite variable clutch system. So remember that as you're looking, if you're in the market for drills, keep that in mind. One last thing I want to go over is the weight bar system. You know, there are certain instances especially where I drill up in the state of New York and sometimes even New Hampshire, where we've got some very, very rugged ground. Sometimes we need to add a little bit more weight. Now this 6-footer is coming in right around that 2,100 pound mark. So it is probably sufficient for most users, but if we wanted to add a little bit more weight, we've got a weight bar system here that will accommodate standard tractor weights. So I'm telling you folks, if you're in a market for drill, and I'm not telling you to go out and sell your drills, I'm saying when you are in the market for a drill and ready, consider the Legendare. It will be one of the best things you ever did when it comes to food plotting and your wildlife management.